Hi, everybody. How are you? It's Rick Wagner here, back on KNZZ, getting it right. Back on our home studio here. Very happy. Like a bolt out of a clear blue sky, we have returned. I appreciate your listenership, as always. And those of you at KGLN and, 92.7, 101.8, 98.1, a couple others. And, of course, the ships at sea. We never want to forget them. And all of you people listening on the Internet and, of course, podcasts. We're back, and I think I might have said that. So, what a week again. It goes flying by. I want to say something right off the top here before I, get lost in something else. How many of you are knowledgeable or in the know that this week, and I want to say it was Monday, that your governor, mine too, I suppose, dang it, signed what was called the Reproductive Health Equity Act. Yes. Right away, the word equity gives it away as being a bad idea. And then the fact that, what does it mean? Reproductive Health Equity Act. Seems to have no meaning whatsoever. It has something to do with reproductive health, but what does equity have to do with reproductive health? How does the outcome of something, which is what equity, is having an equal outcome of things, is probably a good way to think of it. What does that have to do with reproductive health? Well, let's take a look. If you're not familiar with it, what it did was, in Colorado, now, this codifies the fact that a pregnant individual, and no, I'm not saying that because of political weirdness, but that's what it says in the act. A pregnant individual. I suppose that could be a woman. We don't know what a woman is because we don't have a biologist right here to define it. And, of course, it would be different for everybody. We couldn't make a blanket statement. I suppose there'd have to be some sort of examination involved. But a pregnant individual, not a woman in the act, whomever that might be, has the right to continue the pregnancy or get an abortion up to the time of birth. Yeah, that seems kind of radical, doesn't it? You can abort a baby through all 9 months up until birth. And, of course, that apparently is reproductive health, and somehow it's equity. This is sort of like a legislative word salad that Kamala Harris had come up with. It's a bunch of words thrown together, and they're words that mean something to the left. Reproductive Health Equity Act. I don't mean to make light of this. There are many people, I think, that are very upset about this. I asked a number of folks if they'd heard about this this bill being signed, and they hadn't. I don't know how many times I can say this with a straight face, without just feeling like I'm laughing at myself or, I guess, shouting into the wind. But why don't we hear about anything anymore? This was done in a legislative session, and here it is, signed into law. I hadn't looked at when it takes effect, probably July or something like that, but I haven't looked at it. But I use that as an example. Abortion, of course, is a very, very hot topic, and it's a topic that sometimes it's not worth getting into because people have a rock-solid opinion on it, and they're not going to discuss it, and I understand that. But I think that even people who are somewhat equivocating on whether or not we should have abortion and when and all those kinds of questions, that right up to the time of birth I think it seems to most right-thinking people a bad idea. And I think the fact that probably there were a lot of really happy people on the far left about this bill, and remember we have some of these bills that go through and there's like applause out there and so forth. I can't bring myself to look this up and see if I can find any video or audio from when this bill had passed its final reading, but by itself it's not good. The fact that it is yet again an underlining event that we're not getting information on this side of the mountains, And we have a pretty good reach here at KNZZ through our other stations, and, simulcast and translators and so forth. Yet they're not making an effort to get the word out to people, to spread it around, to say, hey, this is what we're thinking about doing. What do you think? Yeah, you're not going to get asked that anymore. The legislature we have in place now, completely controlled by Democrats. The governor, completely controlled by Democrats. The attorney general, such that he is a Democrat. The secretary of state. I don't have an adjective that I can really come to mind that I feel like I can share in good grace with everybody about our secretary of state. Also a Democrat. Everybody at the state level is a Democrat. Both sides of the House and Senate, by that I keep thinking of splitting the building, are all Democrats. This is what's happening. And they realize they have the votes to do things now. And as much as possible, no one is making any effort to get the word out about anything except to their followers on that side of the mountain. And, of course, apparently, nobody over there sees any reason to throw the news across the divide to us. Now, traditionally what you would get, your local electronics usually get it from wire services and stuff like that. They don't want to cover this because I couldn't find it anywhere, really. I found it a couple of places after the fact. Normally it would be your newspaper because you would have a wire service and supposedly have a reporter that covers this. Now, in our case here, where I'm at, Mesa County, that's, of course, hilarious that you would think that you would find something out and that they would that they would tell you and that it would be told in a way that you would agree with. But most places are the same way. We just lost it. Before, they would report on it and then just try and shame you into going along with whatever crazy idea it was. Now they just, you don't need to know because there's no need, apparently, as far as the legislature concerns. They don't need us. We're just trouble. We might start thinking about trying to take the legislature back. Let me tell you, this is not truly a blue state. It is really a purple state, which is what they like to say. I don't like those colors, by the way, but they seem to be what we're using. And we should be in control of at least one of the houses there. The Senate this time around, the Senate here in Colorado, is capable of being flipped. And I know the National Republican Committee for State Legislatures has a hard eye on Colorado, thinking that some of these Senate seats can be flipped. And I think we need like 7 now. We have to look again. But there's several that can be flipped, but nobody pays attention statewide. Everybody, if you have a conservative, you're happy with it and you don't pay any attention. If you don't, you grumble about it, and apparently some people don't pay attention. So a lot of these guys are pretty vulnerable. If we all got together and concentrated ourselves, and I'm trying to find out who they think is vulnerable from the National Republican Committee that's supposedly studying this. Because just because we have, wherever we're at, I should say, you may not have a solid conservative representing you in the Senate or the House. Mesa County, where I'm at, we do. In other states that are listening, heck, if you're in other countries who might be listening, you really need to examine who's controlling this local stuff. I mean, I've on and on about it. You better figure out who the heck is coming up in your city councils and your school boards, for God's sakes, your school boards. We understand now more and more how important these local offices are. See, this stuff's happening, and I just get the strongest feeling that the people in charge just are sort of saying, we don't need those people. Now, we have the majority, and why stir them up? And if we're ever going to get even one of the houses back so we can start making inroads, we're going to have a strong plan to support people in these swing districts. And even if you're safe in terms of conservative representation where you're at, doesn't mean we shouldn't start supporting and financing and stuff people in other counties or Senate districts near us. So for gosh sakes, somebody will start taking us seriously. Be right back.